The war comes with Army fatigue shorts. Watching the video of Adolpho Washington, Bob, one thing that I noticed I saw is he has what we call in the trade old legs. It's going to be up to Toney to land some on the potato on the chin of Adolpho and see if those legs are a little bit like spaghetti now, because they just have that stiff old look.
Washington has one win in the last 3 years. He's 1-4. Last fought on June the 5th in Frankfurt. A technical loss in 9 rounds to Torsten Mai, the former German Olympian. Mai was cut in round 2, right eye accidental cut. He was ahead on the cards when they stopped the fight. He has losses to Orlandoris, Arthur Williams, and Uriah Grant. The only win against Art Jimerson. Toney coming off a March 7th win in Arizona, an 8th round stoppage of Terry Porter. Toney weighed a robust 203 pounds, Teddy. 43 pounds over the weight in which he first won a title.
Which, of course, he's not growing anymore at the age of 30, so you can't say he's filling out. That's just obviously work ethic or lack of work ethic and lack of discipline as far as keeping your weight down. He can get away with it to a certain extent because he's cute. He knows how to fight. He's solid technically. Good hand speed is still there. Matter of fact, when he steps up in weight, his hand speed will be even better because the other guys aren't going to be as fast. They're just going to be a little stronger. But being that he's slick, he can deal with that because he was never a walk-in guy. He was always a guy who was real smart. Always looking to counter. Defensively, very solid. Very adept.
Teddy, weight has really been a problem for both of these guys. When Washington lost to Arthur Williams back in '98 and Uriah Grant, he had to lose 2 and 3 pounds on the day of the fight just to make the weight to fight for the USBA and IBF titles respectively.
The work ethic for both these guys have hounded them, have haunted them, have kept them from maybe being really special, or obviously have hindered them when they've in some of their problems in their careers, as far as when they've had their couple of losses, especially as you said with Adolpho Washington. 2 of his losses, as you said, he had to lose weight at the weigh-in, which is just work ethic. And if he had to lose 2 pounds, that means he was probably 8, 9 pounds over.
Fairly even first round. Cruiserweight bout, round number 2 underway. Toney in the camouflage, Washington in the black. Punch numbers in round number 1. And you see that Toney landed 4 more punches, landed some of the better shots in that round. Good left hand to the body.
That right hand count has been effective early on. Now Toney's turning southpaw, but he just for a second went right back. You better watch he doesn't switch right in front of Washington. While he's switching his legs, he can get caught because he's not ready to defend. But Toney's been effective with that right hand counter when Washington has left that jab out a little too long.
Blood from the nose of Washington.
You can see Toney wants to work to that body. He's going to the head just to pick up the arm of Washington and then bringing that quick, short left hook back to the body. He's real good at that.
Okay, we've seen he has obviously grown in weight over the last 3 years or so, 4 years, that he'll settle for inactivity for the better part of rounds and then look to steal rounds against lesser opposition. It would seem to me that if Adolpho Washington makes a commitment to go for 2.5 minutes of each round and pressure Toney, he'll have a chance to win this fight.
The only thing is that Toney is still a slick guy. He makes you miss and he counters, and that takes away a lot of the pressure. Adolpho's trying to pressure, but he's getting caught with those counters in between, and that's going to make him a little tentative. That's going to hold him in his tracks a little bit. Right now, he's able to, as you said, he's able to be effective here. But right now, Toney's not falling back. And Toney does that sometimes. Sometimes he gets a little bit too involved in his defense. He makes the guy miss, but sometimes he admires it a little bit too much. And he can be out-hustled. That's what happened, I believe, in the Montel Griffin fight. Even though they were real close fights. Defensively, he got so involved in making the guy miss that he forgot to come back sometimes. He admired his work a little bit too much. Right now, he's doing that.
This is not normally something you would compliment a guy for, but Toney is a very effective flat-footed fighter. Almost back on his heels.
You know why, Bob? Because he moves his head real well. If he went back and he didn't move his head, he would not be effective. He moves his head. He's real good defensively. The only thing is, sometimes they make the guy miss, and as I said before, doesn't always come back. Sometimes that could be just from lacking the discipline to do it, being a little lazy. And there could be a reason for that. When you're heavy, sometimes you're looking to conserve your energy, or you're just being lazy. Because if you're lacking the discipline to keep your weight down, you probably lack the discipline to punch back consistently when you make a guy miss. They work together.
Washington trying to pressure Toney near the end of round 2. Well, look at that. I think he was about the age of 7. That young man would become trainer of the heavyweight champion of the world, Teddy Atlas. Yesterday, you celebrated your birthday. Do you care to give us the number?
Somebody's in trouble in that picture.
Jet,
I can tell you.
Mr. Jet, do you care to give us the number?
You better right now. You better lock the doors. You better go somewhere. Somebody's in trouble.
Well, happy birthday.
I'm 43. Thank you.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Cute little kid. What happened?
I'm going to find out who we picture. That's what's happening right now.
Well, I'll take a guess. She treats you very well. Round number 3 underway between James Toney and Adolpho Washington. Punch numbers in round 2, and you see that Toney a little bit more effective, a little bit more accurate. If you're Washington, Teddy, what's your game plan right now?
Well, you better go to the body. You better use the jab, because Toney's not an easy guy to hit. He moves his head, as we were talking about before. That's why he's able to fight flat-footed. You brought it up. That's why he can get away with it, because of that. He moves his head and then he counters back. You have to go to the body, so not only you land something, you don't leave yourself open. You go to the head like that, and the guy's making you miss, you're leaving yourself open for counters. You get away with it sometimes because, as we said before, Toney sometimes doesn't consistently throw back. He likes to make you miss, but sometimes he lets you get away with it.
You gotta dictate.
Early in his career, when he was a middleweight, he didn't let you get away with it too often. Because he had a pretty good teacher back in those days. Bill Miller did a heck of a job, Bill Miller from Detroit, with him as a middleweight. And now, of course, Toney has a pretty good teacher in his corner now as a cruiserweight with Freddie Roach, who's trained guys like Marlon Starling, and of course Virgil Hill, the light heavyweight, former light heavyweight champion of the world.
Go around to your right, folks.
We see Freddie at least twice a month.
Freddie, of course, was a former pro fighter involved in some very exciting fights.
Right hand from Toney, and then he follows it up with the left.
And you see how when he missed that jab there, his left hand was laying out there on Adolfo's shoulder, so he turned him. So he just turned him a little bit, just to make sure Adolpho wasn't set to punch. That's a wily move. Subtle, but very, very smart. See, this is where Washington, he's the bigger guy. He's been a light heavyweight and a cruiserweight his whole career. He's in there with a guy who's a built-up or a blown-up middleweight. Well, this is where Washington, when he's inside, has to go to the body, use his weight, use his size a little bit.
Send the right hand behind his elbow.
Doesn't figure to be able to outbox Toney. Inside is where he should take advantage of being the bigger guy. Go to the body.
With all the subtle skills that you referred to that Toney possesses, the slipping, the turning, being able to fight flat-footed, so on and so forth, you just wonder if he's able to keep the weight under control, how good he could be.
Well, it's not just about all the talent, all those things. Part of it is about having character, having discipline, having a work ethic, having a proper attitude. That's as important as speed, power, and anything else.
Toney scoring on the inside and smothering Washington's punches.
Watch at the end here. He throws a nice combination, keeps Adolpho not set, and then look how he turns him. The left hand's around the shoulder of Adolpho, and he just keeps it there, and he turns Adolpho where he can't punch. That's experience. That's clever.
Round number 4 underway.
There's Toney switching southpaw.
And now the guy's been hurt. I mean, Toney's just right now outboxing Washington in subtle ways. But he's landing more punches and he's throwing more each round.
You would figure that Adolpho, as we said before, the bigger guy, not quite as slick, not quite as good defensively as Toney, and not as quick as Toney, would want to be inside going to the body.
Don't wait on this guy.
Or what he could do, actually he has another option, Bob, as I think about it. He could throw his punches and get out and take advantage of Toney sometimes admiring his work too much, admiring his defense, out-hustle Toney a little bit. But he's got to do one or the other. He can't just lay there like that. He's got to be working inside, or he can get off his punches on the outside and get out. Let Toney play defense, but then not be there for Toney to play offense. You can take advantage of Toney's defense sometimes. He's so into making you miss, like now. And he's not throwing back. After you throw, get out. Don't let him throw back.
Now, Toney's the one who scores, and Washington is doing less in this round.
If Toney does anything defensively wrong, and he's real good defensively, sometimes he makes too many moves. Instead of making a move and bang, taking advantage of it, he'll make too many. And that gives Adolpho a chance to get punches off and get out before something comes back. There goes a mouthpiece. It's Adolpho Washington's mouthpiece, but we'll find out in a second. The referee's going to wait for a low in the action to give it back. Toney doing good work inside here, working that uppercut. He's letting Washington walk into uppercuts. He's walking forward. Toney's giving a little ground like that and throwing punches. That's smart. Don't push against the guy. Just let him fall into punches.
Mouthpiece. Now they'll put Washington's mouthpiece in. They'll rinse it off.
And there was some damage done while that mouthpiece was out, because you could see the blood in the mouth of Washington. So Toney took advantage of that.
You mentioned that sometimes Toney defensively makes one move too many, but Washington's not making him pay.
No, he's not, Bob. Go ahead, gentlemen. See, right here, Washington, you would think has Toney where he wants him, but not so. He's not doing anything. He's just laying in there. He's not going to the body. And Toney's real smart. He's getting his head on either side and working counters.
Well, Washington is making this easy for James Toney through 4 rounds.
The hard-hitting action of American football is back for another season on ESPN. Get ready for the real deal as the NFL on ESPN heads into Week 2. The New York Jets have an uphill climb to the Super Bowl, and the game at Buffalo against their division rival Bills will tell a lot about the rest of their season. Jets, Bills, live Monday. The NFL on ESPN.
You don't need to tell Toney if a man's leaning forward, bring that uppercut up. Well, there it is.
Well, right now, James Toney is able to pick apart Adolpho Washington through the first 4 rounds.
He's just faster, he's smarter, he's slicker.
He's better.
Yeah, he is. And more experience, even though Adolpho is no slouch when it comes to experience. former cruiserweight champion of the world. On his 4th try, fought for the world title 3 times before that. In very close contests, but unsuccessful bids.
Punches in the last round. Toney outlanded Washington 33-9. Washington only landed 5 punches through the first 2 minutes of the last round. Take it to the corner of James Toney and the aforementioned Freddie Roach in the corner. And Freddie, so far, it appears that James can basically do whatever he wants to do right now. He's been able to move quite effectively and really is controlling this fight. How do you see it from your corner?
Yeah, I agree. James is fighting a good fight out there. I just want to see him use the jab a little bit more and dictate the pace of this fight with the jab. I think he'd be more effective with it. Because he's trying to wait to the counter a little bit too much instead of making it happen with the jab.
Freddie, it seems like James could beat him either way, inside or outside. You would think he's the smaller guy originally and the faster guy. He'd do it even better on the outside. Do you care which way he does it, on the inside or the outside? Would you rather him be on the outside?
I'd like to see him on the outside a little bit more, yeah. Just pick it apart and not trading shots with him. He's letting Washington get through with the jab too much.
Yeah, he's the faster guy, Toney. I mean, it seems like he has even more his way on the outside. Maybe gives Washington just a small chance being a bigger guy on the inside.
I agree. I'd trying to get James to use that jab a little bit more, be more effective with it, and use his counter shots off that. You see, when he's behind the jab, he throws his combinations much better. When he's inside, he's kind of crowding himself a little bit.
Are you surprised that he's as sharp as he is, considering he's only fought once in the previous 2 years?
Not at all. James has been looking good in the gym. I was away for a while with Johnny Tapia, and my gym called me. He was training twice a day there. Something sparked James Toney to get serious again. I don't know what it was, but I'm sure happy he's there because he's the most talented fighter I've ever seen.
All right, Freddie, thank you very much. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, guys. All
right, Freddie Roach in the corner of James Toney. I know Max will pick up on this, but Freddie Roach, look-alike Elvis Costello, musician. And right now, James Toney just controlling Washington and just slicker, smarter in the ring. And through the first 5 rounds, at least according to Teddy and I, we have it a shutout. Let's check in with Brian and Max, guys.
Guys, thank you. And good comments there from Roach, former fighter himself. And I see something different, too. I think very impressed so far with Toney. When he's on his toes, good things happen, and he seems to be in very good shape. I think he's right. He's ready now for something, and it's showing in the ring.
Roach is a great trainer, first of all. We haven't mentioned that yet enough on this area. He's a great trainer, and he used to be a very exciting fighter. But, this reminds me of when James chopped down Iran Barkley. He's just a joy to watch, for a purist, but also just for a casual fan, because he's just a pleasure to watch. And what I can think when watching him here, he's in shape now, but he could be in even better shape. And how dare he not come into shape for every fight and deny us the privilege of watching him perform his craft.
Impressive performance so far with James Toney. Again, I've seen him in the gym and wondered how much he really wanted it. Looks like he wants it now. Let's go back ringside to Bob and Teddy. Fellas?
All right, thanks. And Max will pass that along to James after the fight. He better not dare ever come into the ring out of shape because Max will come after.
Oh, you have to deal with Max.
No, but he made a good point, though, because, I mean, and Toney getting a little better shape. I mean, maybe not 197, maybe, 93 or whatever it is. But, I mean, he's still got all the skills. And he is just basically toying with Adolpho Washington.
But let's make one point here before we anoint him, the next Muhammad Ali. Toney's always been a terrific boxer, real solid technically, but he has a good foil in front of him. He's got a guy who's straight up, a guy who's real game in Adolpho Washington, but a guy who's not real hard to hit, a guy that fits the style of Toney real well. I mean, Toney has a perfect guy to execute against. All right. That is part of it. And speaking about lookalikes with Freddie Roach, how about Buddy Holly?
Yeah, got that one too. Another musician.
I got to be careful when I start talking about these lookalikes after that picture that was shown of me up on the screen earlier. I got to be a little careful.
I know where your son got his good looks from.
My son's much better looking than his pop. Much more talented.
That was a good picture.
Well, when you're young, everybody says it's cute, so you get away with one. Kind of like missing a punch and the guy don't hit you back.
Blood coming from the mouth of Washington. Mouthpiece lost again.
And right now, a lot of damage has been done in that mouth. You can see the blood, both the nose and the mouth. Of course, in long fights, swallowing blood can upset your stomach a little bit. Of course, that can affect the fight sometimes.
I remember Meldrick Taylor in 1990 against Julio Cesar Chavez, and the effects after the fight of all the blood that Meldrick Taylor had swallowed in that dramatic loss in the final 10 seconds of round 12.
Toney's able to do anything he wants. He should be on the outside, but the truth be told, he could fight on the inside with this guy because he's smart enough to do it. Even though he's not the bigger guy, when you're smart and you're clever, you don't let the guy take an inch of size. There goes the mouthpiece of Adolpho once again. You gotta wonder if it fits right or if maybe the cuts are not letting him keep his mouth closed. Right here, somebody's calling for an uppercut from Toney. They happen to be right because Adolfo's leaning forward a little bit. Just a second ago, no, you can pick it up, but Toney threw an uppercut. Adolpho dropped his hand to block it. Toney should fake the uppercut, bring it up top when a guy does that. Work on it. You talk effective aggression, that's what you're talking about right now. Adolfo's the one who's aggressive, but he's not effective. Toney's the one who's doing all the clean punching in between.
Short right hand from Toney as well.
He's calm. He's able to throw those punches inside. Anything a little bit wide inside, Toney's able to throw right inside, or he's able to make a miss and then counter. One or the other. And right there, straight right hand, right inside that little bit of a left hook. He sees the hand down, he throws a sneaky hook. He's throwing nice short punches, Toney. Just what the doctor would order. You're inside, you want to keep your punches short because you don't want to leave yourself open for a counter.
Now, all James Toney through 6.
Yes, is the best.
Goes the run. Go Network. Go.com. Well, James Toney and Adolpho Washington continue their 10-round affair. Round number 7 underway, and Toney in total control. You know what's amazing too, Teddy, is that you mentioned he's very calm. He never loses his composure.
No, he's not. That's what happens when you've had all those fights he's had. Of course, he was a good amateur too, so he's had plenty of experience.
You know, most of that last round took place right above us. And this entire row where we are seated is splattered in blood. You look like a candy king.
I sure do. And you were the smart one. You took your cardboard notes there and you put them up as a shield.
I'll tell you what, if people can get a shot of this press row right now, everybody has a piece of paper up and ready to block, even though the action's on the other side of the ring. Right hand from Washington, and again, Toney makes him miss.
And counters. That looked like a right hand landed from Adolpho Washington, but it really didn't. Toney put his shoulder up and deflected it with his shoulder. He's real good at that. He's good at riding those right hands. He just pulls back from right there. He'll pull back and he'll ride with it.
Teddy, you and I both having a shutout for Toney through 6.
You know who used to be good at riding those right hands and pulling back? Roberto Duran when he was younger. He was great at that. Like Toney. Wasn't just tough, wasn't just aggressive. He was smart. That time the right hand might have gotten in a little bit. But most of them, Toney anticipates. He gets that shoulder up and he rides them. Right there, he rolled it and then came back with his own right uppercut. That's what you want to do. Putting the peanut butter with the jelly. Not just one alone. You ride the punch, you come right back, because usually the guy's hanging there. You come back quick enough, you're going to catch the guy. Toney's very good at that. That right uppercut is real effective for Toney inside. Because Adolfo's leaning forward. Adolfo's getting all busted up here. Game as heck, but really getting busted up. You almost have to think about in the corner what you want to do, whether or not you want to stop it. Because you don't know, he's not a big puncher, Adolpho. And of course, Toney defensively so good. The chances of catching Toney late in the fight aren't all that good.
Well, you think about all the quality opposition Toney's been in against. He's never been stopped. And Washington has one knockout past round 6. And that was 5 years ago.
So you start to weigh that as a corner guy. Toney's, you know, not a huge puncher at this weight. He's a much bigger puncher at middleweight, but he's still catching him a lot of clean punches and busting him up real well. So you start to think in the corner. If you let the guy keep taking punches, He has no chance to win.
Toney just tagging Washington as we end round number 7. Toney back to his corner. Well, he's a former 2-time world champion, a middleweight and super middleweight champion, a USBA light heavyweight champion. He's fighting at cruiserweight. So exactly which title does Toney have his sights set on?
Cruiserweight title, heavyweight title. I can fight either or. That's how good I am. You know, I can fight any division, anytime. You know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a pretend boxer. I'm a real fighter. I'm still back from the old days. You know, a lot of fighters, they can't say that. I fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. All they gotta do is sign a contract.
Get up on your toes and force it. You all right? You get your second one right now, okay? Let's get up on your toes. You're in great shape. Let's get up on your toes and start popping that jab, okay? Combinations behind the jab. You hear me? Cool. Yep.
Well, Teddy says he doesn't care. Well, in a way, he is sort of a throwback in the fact that he has fought everybody that's come down.
And he has, back when he was at his top, he not only fought everybody, but he was so active. He fought very often, kind of like the old days. He fought every month and a half, and 10-round fights, not 6-round or 4-round fights, like the old days when they used to fight real often. Clubs somewhere, guys would fight 2 times a month.
Now, I know he threw out cruiserweight title, heavyweight. Obviously, heavyweight's where the money is, but that's where the money is, and I think that's where it would end for him.
Yeah, that's obviously there's only so far you can go. He would be much smaller than those guys. He would be slicker than a lot of the heavyweights, but at that point, his size with the top guys would obviously make a huge difference.
Now, start again. Don't wait. See, that's it. That's what you want to do.
Because there's some spots where he gets caught. And with the heavyweights, of course, he would pay for those spots a lot more than he is here.
Well, Toney has power in every round, as you've seen. 12th round knockout came against Prince Charles Williams as a super middleweight. And, of course, the 11th round stoppage came when he won the IBF middleweight championship back in 1991 against Michael Nunn.
Go back to the right hand lead.
And conversely, in his last 7, as he's been fighting at this heavier weight, he's averaging nearly 11 rounds a bout. So obviously the power has decreased as the weight scale has increased.
The advantage he's had is that he's been faster than the bigger guy and slicker, a little bit smarter, not stronger. But that served him pretty well, picking his spots here. I mean, there's a reason why in the old days, guys like the great Harry Greb, Mickey Walker, those guys could fight and catch weight fights. They could fight from welterweight all the way up to heavyweight and be successful because they were faster, they were smarter than the bigger guys that were stronger. Faster and smarter is better than stronger most of the time.
We're talking a lot about Toney. What about Washington? Fighting at the weight he's been fighting at. He has 1 win in 3 years, and that was against Art Jimerson, who's lost against any quality opponents and appears to be on his way to a unanimous decision loss again here. You got to wonder how much longer he's going to keep at this.
That's right, and more importantly, is while he's losing, he's taking punishment. When Toney's lost fights, he hasn't taken big punishment because of his style. Adolpho, of course, he's been taking punishment. So there's only so much of that you can go with. He's shown a lot of heart tonight. There's no denying that. But he's without his mouthpiece once again. He lost his mouthpiece about 30 seconds ago. Anything he gets hit now is going to do much more damage in the mouth. The referee's waiting for a low in action. He's not going to get it to the bell.
James Toney continues to bust up Adolpho Washington.
ESPN know the game. The 1999
Peter Jacobson on hand tonight. Peter, of course, one of the great characters and outstanding golfers for a long time on the PGA Tour. Also served a stint as analyst on ABC's golf coverage. And on the court also here tonight, Peter Costa. So a lot of the guys have made the trip. Watch a little boxing. James Toney and Adolpho Washington underway, round number 9.
And Bob, you're not a bad golfer yourself. Of course, you're too modest to say that, so I'll say it. What did you shoot today?
I shot a 70.
Not bad, not bad.
Missed a birdie on 18 for the 69. Anyway, I'll tell you what. Right now, be in the clubhouse with the lead.
That's a good way of putting it.
Because he is busting up Adolpho Washington.
And now he's making little movements, too. He's throwing the punches and moving around Adolpho Washington. And Washington needs to have his feet set to punch. Right now, he's able to do that because Toney's laying on the ropes. But Toney gets that shoulder up, slips that right hand right there. See how he dips there a little bit? Gets that shoulder up, lets the right hand go by. The only thing he's not doing that he was doing earlier is coming back with that right. There he did. He must have heard me. See how he can adjust Toney? Now he's in close quarters there, but he shortens his punches up like that. Nice uppercut. Guy's leaning on him. He's calm. He knows which punches to throw, and that's important. Which punches to throw depending on the situation you're in. He's in a telephone booth when he was over there, so he made them shorter.
And it seems so instinctive. It's not even like there's a moment of thought there. They just flow out of his body.
Well, he's been doing it long. The old-time trainers used to always say, you want to make it a habit where you don't have to think about it, Bob. Because he might go out and start eating too much.
He's fighting in a couple weeks right here at Toney.
Yeah, he is. No, I would give a tape. You're right, Elvira Baricki, a young light heavyweight. He's 9-0 now. He fought in Atlanta, Georgia, home of Evander Holyfield. And he got his 9th win. And as you said, he'll be here in Foxwoods on the 14th of August, the same night Juma and Freddie and Johnston fight. Stevie Johnston, the lightweight champ.
We'll have Mark Too Sharp Johnson the night before. End of round 9. James Toney in control.
Okie dokie. Oh no. Oh. Oh.
9 rounds. And you see Toney much more accurate. Now he's just teeing off on Washington.
Again, you have to think in the corner about whether or not you want your guy to keep taking this kind of punishment, because in my estimation, he can't win the fight. He's not a big enough punch, and he's got a guy too slick. Well, the referee does it.
Charles Dwyer steps in and stops it. Fans are booing, but really for no reason.
Well, there was a reason I started saying that, and obviously it was pretty obvious. And the referee saw it the same way. The guy's taking a lot of punishment. It didn't just start this round, so you can't really argue with the ref. It didn't start this round, and he's way behind.
ESPN brings the finest athletes in the world into your home every day.
Fresh Budweiser, the undefeated king of beers. This Bud's for you. And embarked by 1-800-CALL-AT&T for